Welcome back. Last time we explored Instruct GPT and Thinking LLMs, both crucial for understanding how language models can align with human preferences and optimize reasoning through thought generation. Those episodes set the stage for today's discussion, where we dive into a different approach, one that doesn't rely on prompts to reveal reasoning capabilities. It's like taking a new route, focusing more on how models decode information rather than just how they're guided.
Right. And if I remember correctly, Instruct GPT was all about improving instruction adherence, while Thinking LLMs tried to refine the thought process itself. But today's focus sounds different. It's more about decoding, right?
Exactly. The previous works aimed to optimize instruction following and thought structuring, whereas today's paper reveals how models can exhibit reasoning through a technique called chain of thought, decoding. This method bypasses prompt engineering, letting the model's inherent reasoning shine.
So, this episode really builds on what we've learned but takes a new perspective by looking at what the models can do independently.
Yes, and the approach is notable for its task-agnostic nature and efficiency. It allows models to demonstrate reasoning without prompts, using alternative decoding paths to bring out the best answers. Plus, it requires less data, making it more scalable than traditional fine-tuning.
That sounds promising. Could you give a quick overview of the paper's content?
Sure. We start by discussing how CoT decoding enables models to generate reasoning paths without prompts. We'll then look at the experimental results showing improved performance across tasks like math and common sense reasoning. The paper also explores combining CoT decoding with CoT prompting, achieving even better results. Finally, we'll reflect on the broader implications of this decoding-based approach.
Sounds exciting. So, decoding is not just a part of the response generation but a tool for uncovering reasoning skills.
Absolutely, and it's a big step toward making models more autonomous and transparent in their reasoning. Let's dig into how CoT decoding actually works and why it's a breakthrough for understanding intrinsic reasoning. All right, let's dive into the abstract of this paper. The focus here is on a novel approach to reasoning with large language models, LLMs. Previously, most methods have relied on prompting techniques like few-shot or zero-shot prompting to help these models think through problems step by step. However, this study takes a different path by asking a fundamental question: can LLMs reason effectively without prompting? The key finding is that these models do have inherent reasoning capabilities that can be revealed by changing how they decode responses, rather than relying solely on traditional prompt-based techniques.
Interesting. So, you're saying that instead of using specific prompts to guide the model's reasoning, we can just tweak the decoding process and still get good results? How does that work?
Exactly. Instead of using greedy decoding, which typically selects the most probable token at each step, this study explores alternative decoding paths, like selecting from the top K tokens. By doing so, the model can naturally generate a chain-of-thought reasoning path. The surprising part is that these CoT paths already exist within the model's responses, but are usually hidden by standard greedy decoding.
That's a clever way to bring out the model's reasoning. But how do we know if the alternative paths are better than the greedy ones?
Great question. The researchers found that when the CoT paths appear in the decoding process, the model also shows higher confidence in its answers. This confidence is measured by the probability differences between top choices at each step, making it easier to identify the most reliable reasoning paths.
So, the confidence metric acts like a filter to choose the best reasoning paths from the model?
Exactly. It's like a built-in indicator of accuracy. The higher confidence helps distinguish between CoT and non-CoT paths, making it easier to focus on responses that follow logical reasoning steps.
It sounds like this approach could be quite efficient. How does it perform compared to traditional prompt-based methods?
Empirically, the CoT decoding method performs well across different reasoning benchmarks. It not only reduces the reliance on human-crafted prompts, but also offers a more intrinsic evaluation of the model's reasoning capabilities. It's particularly effective for mathematical and common-sense reasoning tasks, where models typically struggle without explicit prompts.
That makes sense. So, this method could simplify things by eliminating the need for prompt engineering, right?
Exactly. It's a step towards assessing and enhancing the model's reasoning skills without the confounding factors introduced by prompt tuning. It offers a clearer picture of the model's intrinsic reasoning capabilities, showing that LLMs can handle certain tasks independently. In summary, this paper reveals that by modifying the decoding process, we can elicit reasoning paths that are often hidden. It challenges the assumption that LLMs require prompts to reason effectively, and shows that intrinsic reasoning can be brought to the forefront through alternative decoding strategies. Now let's transition to the introduction. Building on the abstract, the introduction emphasizes the remarkable performance of large language models, LLMs, across complex reasoning benchmarks. The research specifically notes how LLMs typically use prompting techniques to demonstrate reasoning skills, such as few-shot or zero-shot prompting, as well as instruction tuning using chain-of-thought (CoT) data.
Got it. So, prompting techniques seem to be the main way that LLMs have been able to show reasoning so far. But what are the differences between few-shot and zero-shot prompting?
Good question. Few-shot prompting involves providing a few example prompts that include both questions and solutions, which help guide the model's reasoning process. Zero-shot prompting, on the other hand, offers just a question, usually accompanied by an instruction asking the model to show its reasoning steps.
That makes sense. But isn't there a limitation when using prompting techniques, especially when it comes to assessing the model's inherent reasoning?
Exactly. Prompting often introduces human biases, making it harder to distinguish the model's true reasoning capabilities from what it learns through prompts. Additionally, prompt engineering can be task-specific and may require significant human efforts. This makes it challenging to get a clear picture of a model's intrinsic reasoning abilities without external guidance.
That explains why the study is interested in finding out if LLMs can reason independently, without prompts.
The authors explore a fresh perspective by asking whether LLMs can effectively reason without any prompting. The study proposes altering the decoding procedure instead of modifying prompts. By examining the top K decoding paths, they observed that LLMs are capable of generating CoT reasoning without explicit prompts.
So, by modifying the decoding method, they can actually uncover the model's natural reasoning capabilities?
Precisely. The researchers illustrate this concept using a standard question-answer format, where alternative decoding paths reveal accurate CoT reasoning. For instance, when greedy decoding produces incorrect answers, inspecting other top K decoding paths often brings out logical reasoning steps that correct the response.
Interesting approach. It's like revealing hidden reasoning paths that were previously overlooked.
Exactly. The introduction wraps up by highlighting the broader implications. If LLMs can demonstrate reasoning without prompt adjustments, it suggests that the models have untapped, inherent reasoning skills that can be elicited through simple decoding changes. All right, moving forward, let's talk about how pre-trained language models can reason without prompting, specifically through chain-of-thought decoding. In this section, the study dives deeper into how modifying the decoding process, rather than relying on prompts, can reveal the model's inherent reasoning capabilities.
So, CoT decoding is basically about changing the way we decode the model's output? What does that look like in practice?
Exactly. The researchers focused on altering the decoding process, specifically by exploring the top K tokens instead of just the TOP1 token, which is what greedy decoding does. By doing this, they discovered that the model can generate coherent reasoning paths naturally. This approach allows the model to produce logical steps that are often overlooked when using traditional decoding methods.
That's fascinating. So, without prompts, the model can still show reasoning skills, as long as we adjust how it generates responses?
Yes, that's the key idea here. By considering these alternative decoding paths, the model reveals reasoning chains that are task-agnostic, meaning they aren't tied to any specific prompt or context. It shows that the CoT reasoning is an intrinsic capability of the model, not something that always needs to be explicitly guided by prompts.
It seems like a more direct way to measure the model's reasoning skills without interference from external factors like prompts.
That's exactly the point. This method aims to provide a clearer, more accurate assessment of the model's reasoning abilities. For instance, in both mathematical and common-sense reasoning tasks, the model demonstrated better accuracy when CoT paths were present in its decoding process. This was consistent across different benchmarks.
How do they evaluate whether CoT decoding is really effective? Is it just about higher accuracy?
Good question. Beyond accuracy, the researchers also observed that the model's confidence in its answers increases when CoT reasoning paths are part of the decoding process. The increased confidence is a strong indicator that the reasoning is more reliable. So CoT decoding isn't just about getting the right answers. It's also about generating responses that the model is more certain about.
So, CoT decoding could be a game changer for understanding what LLMs are capable of, right?
Exactly. It's a breakthrough in assessing and leveraging the intrinsic reasoning skills of language models without needing extensive prompt engineering or fine-tuning. It also emphasizes that LLMs, even when pre-trained, possess reasoning abilities that can be uncovered with the right decoding techniques. Now let's move on to how CoT decoding can be used to extract CoT paths from language models. Building on the previous discussion, this section delves into how we can reliably identify the reasoning paths within the model's responses by using this decoding strategy.
So, CoT decoding isn't just about revealing reasoning paths, it's also about selecting the best ones, right?
Exactly. When we talk about extracting CoT paths, we're referring to finding the most reliable reasoning sequences among the top K decoding options. The idea is that CoT decoding not only uncovers these paths, but also ranks them based on answer confidence.
Answer confidence? How does that work?
Great question. The researchers use a measure of confidence derived from the probability differences between the top tokens at each decoding step. When CoT paths appear, they tend to generate higher confidence scores, meaning the model is more certain about its answers.
So, CoT decoding helps the model pick the most accurate and confident reasoning paths?
Precisely. By focusing on decoding paths with the highest confidence scores, CoT decoding ensures that the model's reasoning is not only logical, but also more likely to be correct. This method allows us to filter out weaker reasoning paths and prioritize those that are both coherent and confident.
It seems like this approach could improve the reliability of model outputs across different tasks.
That's right. In their experiments, the authors found that CoT decoding significantly improves performance across various reasoning benchmarks, including both mathematical and common sense tasks. This approach provides a more stable way to extract the best reasoning outcomes from pre-trained models, even without prompts.
And it doesn't rely on human-written prompts, which makes it more efficient, right?
Exactly. The beauty of CoT decoding lies in its ability to leverage the model's inherent reasoning abilities without human intervention. It's a purely model-driven approach that aligns well with the goal of understanding the natural reasoning capabilities of language models. All right, let's explore the experimental findings of the study and how CoT decoding performs in practice. The researchers conducted a series of experiments to evaluate whether CoT decoding can truly enhance reasoning in language models, particularly in terms of accuracy and consistency across various tasks.
I assume they tested this on a range of tasks, right? What kinds of benchmarks did they use?
Exactly. They tested CoT decoding on different reasoning benchmarks, such as mathematical problem solving and common sense reasoning. The experiments covered datasets like GSM-8K, which involves grade school math problems, and a task called year parity, which is about determining whether someone was born in an even or odd year.
And how did CoT decoding perform compared to other methods?
CoT decoding showed significant improvements in reasoning accuracy compared to traditional methods like greedy decoding and even some sampling-based techniques. For example, on the GSM-8K dataset, CoT decoding achieved up to 25% accuracy, which is a substantial jump over the roughly 10% accuracy seen with greedy decoding.
That's a huge improvement. But why does CoT decoding perform better than other decoding strategies?
Good observation. The main advantage of CoT decoding is its ability to capture and emphasize reasoning paths that are more likely to lead to correct answers. 10. By evaluating alternative decoding paths, it consistently finds reasoning sequences that align better with the model's understanding of the task.
So, it's not just about exploring more paths, it's about finding paths that reflect the model's internal reasoning patterns more accurately.
Exactly. It's not simply a matter of decoding more options, but about identifying reasoning paths that the model is most confident in. This confidence-based filtering plays a critical role in making CoT decoding more effective for reasoning tasks.
Did the researchers also compare CoT decoding to models that were instruction-tuned?
Yes, they did. Interestingly, CoT decoding partially closed the gap between pre-trained models and instruction-tuned models, showing that even without supervised fine-tuning, CoT decoding could bring out reasoning capabilities almost on par with instruction-tuned models.
That's impressive. It means CoT decoding could be a less resource-intensive alternative to instruction tuning for improving reasoning.
Exactly. It's a step forward in making LLMs more efficient and autonomous in their reasoning, without the need for extensive training or manual prompt crafting. Overall, the experiments demonstrate that CoT decoding is a robust technique for eliciting reasoning from language models. Let's now delve into how CoT decoding provides a clearer picture of a model's intrinsic reasoning abilities. The researchers emphasize that traditional methods of evaluating models often involve prompts that may introduce human biases. CoT decoding, on the other hand, bypasses these biases, allowing us to observe how language models reason independently.
So, with CoT decoding, we're seeing the model's reasoning without any external influence, right?
Exactly. By focusing solely on how the model generates reasoning paths through alternative decoding, we get a more authentic view of what the model is inherently capable of. This method reveals the reasoning skills that are built into the model during its pre-training, without any additional prompts guiding the process.
And does this method highlight any specific strengths or weaknesses in the model's reasoning?
Yes, it does. CoT decoding not only brings out the model's strengths, but also uncovers areas where it struggles. For instance, while models perform well on simpler tasks that involve one or two reasoning steps, they find it challenging to maintain accuracy in more complex tasks that require multiple reasoning steps.
So, CoT decoding can help us identify where the model needs improvement in its reasoning, right?
Precisely. This approach is especially useful for diagnosing models' vulnerabilities, like difficulties in state tracking or following the correct order of operations in math problems. It provides a clearer map of where reasoning breaks down, which can inform future training and model design.
That's valuable. It sounds like CoT decoding not only evaluates the model's performance, but also guides how we can make models better.
Exactly. It's a more transparent way of understanding model behavior, allowing researchers to refine models based on actual reasoning performance rather than relying on prompt-based adjustments. This makes CoT decoding an important tool for advancing model development and understanding. Now let's discuss an interesting combination: CoT decoding with CoT prompting. The study explores how these two approaches can work together to further enhance reasoning in language models.
I see. So, even though CoT decoding works well on its own, adding CoT prompting could make it even better?
Exactly. While CoT decoding is effective in revealing the model's inherent reasoning, combining it with CoT prompting creates a synergy that maximizes the model's reasoning performance. Essentially, CoT prompting sets up a structured reasoning process, while CoT decoding refines it by selecting the most reliable reasoning paths.
So, CoT prompting provides a guiding structure, and CoT decoding filters out the best reasoning paths?
That's right, CoT prompting gives the model a scaffold to follow, which is particularly helpful for more complex tasks. CoT decoding then takes over, focusing on the model's confidence levels to ensure that the reasoning paths are not only coherent but also accurate.
It sounds like this combination could be very effective across a wide range of tasks.
Absolutely. In fact, the researchers found that using both techniques together resulted in even higher accuracy than using either method alone. For example, combining CoT decoding with zero-shot CoT prompting significantly boosted performance on benchmarks like GSM-8K.
So, the combination is like getting the best of both worlds: prompt-guided reasoning and decoding-based accuracy?
Exactly. It's about leveraging the strengths of both methods. CoT prompting helps the model understand how to approach a problem step by step, while CoT decoding ensures that the final answers are derived from the most reliable reasoning paths.
This combined approach could be a key strategy for tackling more complex reasoning challenges.
You're absolutely right. By integrating these two techniques, researchers can address a broader spectrum of reasoning tasks more effectively, pushing the boundaries of what language models can achieve in logical thinking. All right, let's shift our focus to the related work in this field. The authors of this study build on a rich body of research that aims to enhance reasoning in large language models, especially through various prompting techniques and decoding strategies.
I'm curious, what are some of the main prompting techniques that have been used before?
Good question. Earlier work has largely focused on prompting strategies like few-shot and zero-shot CoT prompting, which aim to elicit reasoning by guiding the model step by step. Few-shot prompting involves providing several examples of reasoning, while zero-shot prompting relies on a single instruction to generate reasoning paths.
I see. And how do these methods compare to CoT decoding?
While CoT prompting has been effective, it often requires careful prompt design, which can introduce task-specific biases. CoT decoding, on the other hand, bypasses these challenges by focusing purely on decoding paths, making it a more general approach that doesn't depend on external guidance.
Are there any other decoding methods that aim to improve reasoning?
Yes, there are. Several decoding strategies have been proposed to enhance language model outputs, like beam search, top K sampling, and nucleus sampling. These methods aim to increase fluency and diversity, but they often fall short when it comes to improving logical reasoning.
So, CoT decoding stands out because it specifically targets reasoning rather than just generating varied outputs.
Exactly. It's one of the first decoding methods designed specifically to enhance logical reasoning, setting it apart from those primarily focused on improving language fluency or diversity. Additionally, recent studies have explored combining self-consistency methods with CoT prompting, which aggregates multiple reasoning paths to boost accuracy. However, this still relies on the presence of prompts.
It sounds like CoT decoding could pave the way for more prompt-independent reasoning improvements.
That's the hope. By eliminating the need for prompts and instead emphasizing decoding techniques, researchers can create models that demonstrate stronger, more intrinsic reasoning skills. Overall, the related work sets the foundation for understanding the evolution of reasoning strategies in language models, with CoT decoding offering a fresh, prompt-free perspective. Let's wrap up by discussing the main conclusions and broader implications of this study. The key takeaway is that CoT decoding offers a new way to enhance reasoning in large language models without relying on prompts or fine-tuning. By modifying the decoding process, this method reveals the inherent reasoning capabilities of the models, demonstrating that they can generate logical responses on their own.
It's impressive that such a simple change altering the decoding strategy can make such a big difference in reasoning performance.
Absolutely. It shows that language models have untapped potential for reasoning, and that CoT decoding is a more direct approach to access it. This method not only increases accuracy, but also boosts the model's confidence in its answers, making it a more reliable tool for reasoning tasks.
So, what are the main limitations or challenges that remain with CoT decoding?
Good question. While CoT decoding improves reasoning, it also comes with increased computational costs, since evaluating multiple decoding paths requires more processing. Additionally, the approach may not be as effective for tasks that are highly synthetic or complex, where more guided reasoning steps might still be needed.
I see. So, there's still room for refining CoT decoding and possibly integrating it with other strategies?
Exactly. Future research could explore ways to make CoT decoding more efficient or combine it with instruction tuning to further improve reasoning outcomes. Another potential direction is to expand CoT decoding beyond the first decoding step, experimenting with branching at different points in the response.
That sounds promising. It seems like CoT decoding has opened up new avenues for understanding and improving language model reasoning.
Yes, it certainly has. By focusing on the model's intrinsic abilities, CoT decoding offers a cleaner, more transparent evaluation of reasoning skills. It's a step towards more autonomous models that can reason without relying heavily on external guidance. And that brings us to the end of today's discussion on chain-of-thought decoding. It's clear that this approach offers a fresh perspective on model reasoning by unlocking inherent capabilities without relying on prompts.
Absolutely. The standout points for me were how CoT decoding not only improves accuracy across tasks but also boosts the model's confidence. And the fact that it's task agnostic makes it quite versatile.
Exactly, and the potential for combining CoT decoding with CoT prompting is another exciting area to explore further. This synergy could lead to even stronger reasoning capabilities in language models.
I'm also intrigued by the challenges we touched upon, like computational costs and how this approach might struggle with more complex tasks. Definitely areas for future research.
Well said. We've covered a lot today, and there's so much more to think about regarding decoding strategies and autonomous reasoning.
Thanks to everyone for joining us. We hope you found today's discussion insightful.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and we'll see you in the next episode.